Hello, I'm Corey and welcome to Creating with Scraps. This short episode is going to be specific details on how I make the scrap cards and just my process for it. There's a lot of different ways to do it. I'll just show you how I do it from start to finish. And they don't have to be cards. This particular one happens to be a card, but you can just do them. I decorate bags with these sometimes. I decorate tags. This one probably would be a tag since it's single-sided, but there's just lots of different ways to use these scraps. And I usually combine them with a die cut, and I'll show you just a couple real quick things when I do that. But first, my process is pretty simple. I save or make the ends when I'm trimming something off, and I just put them in one big bag, and when I want to make a card, I'll pull out these just to lay them down. And I do it a couple ways. There's this double straight-sided, when you trim off a little bit of a card, and then I've got some of the raggedy bits, like when you've got, I don't know how well you can see that, when you tear something and you've got a raggedy edge. So I'll combine these when I make a card. See, here's just a bit of a raggedy edge, as well as a straight edge. And I'll mix these two when I'm putting them together. And you saw I just stuck my hand in and pulled out a bunch, and I'll sit to show you how I do that. Sorry, I'm reaching around the tripod, so it's not such a great thing. Here we go. All right, so I grab some pieces, and then honestly, I tear them and I lay them down. Where do I think I want this to go? I try to balance colors and sizes, and if it's too big, I'll just tear something down. I try to balance, I don't know how well you can see it from there, but the straight edges versus torn edges, and some kind of a blend of the two of those. I do throw away the little itty bitty tiny pieces, but I use a lot of this, and I find that I can get a variety of looks just by changing the sizes and how much torn edge shows. I don't want all of them to be torn edge because it's a little bit distracting, but if I don't use enough torn edge, then I'm not as pleased with the finished look. So see, those two colors are kind of too close together, so I will move those over. And I want a little bit, but if I'm going to use those green dyes, so I just kind of play with it, honestly. I grab some scrap bits and I tear them up, and I vary the colors, and I vary the widths of the pieces, and I vary the textures. I'll make sure there's some vellum or some tissue paper, or, ooh, that's a kind of a cool one. That's kind of a torn paper look there. So when I've got, oh, and I like this color. I think I'll put that color in there somewhere too. So when I've got a variety of like this, I will just start to lay them down. Now, on some of them, they have already been inked, so I won't ink them. And some of them don't need to be inked. But if it's a really light color, I will come in and I will ink it. And again, when I ink a really fine piece of paper, I use a piece of heavier cardstock or bigger piece behind it. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I just want to take the jarring, torn look. I want to soften it a little bit. And so I think that's sometimes what ink does. All right, and then I use art glitter glue simply because it's a fine tip. And then I start gluing them down. I'll move these. Okay, I don't love to create a mess, but I'll move those to the side while I glue these down. And I vary the heights a little bit. Sometimes it's taller in the middle, sometimes it's taller out at the sides. I try not to be too uniform. A little bit more a random look if possible. Oh, and see, here you go. See, there's a little white edge. I don't like the little white edge. So I will come in and take that little white edge off. And I'll lay them down. Like so, and relatively straight, but they don't have to be perfectly straight by any means. And again, I'm just going to mix up the color and mix up the location. Sometimes I'll do layered pieces, like when I've, some of these, my scraps will be layered scraps. Like I've got some book page in the back, and then like a piece of the Tim Holtz tissue paper on top of that. And so I've got text with tissue, and I'll use those scraps too, because that gives you a different dimension, a different look. But there's no rules, no rhyme, no reason. I'm just kind of laying them down and mixing up the colors and mixing up the widths of the strips. No, it's not very exciting to watch me glue, but this is the process. This is how I do it. Now you can, of course, put them closer together if you like. They don't have to be super far apart, but they can be, again, if you choose to. Yeah, I like that there. Do I want that? No, I want it over there. And then sometimes I'll just move them around, you know, until you're going to cover some of it up. Well, probably you're going to cover it up. I cover some of it up. That's upside down after this. I cover some of it up with a die cut, and I'll show you the die cuts that I use in just a minute. But first I want to get my background, and then I'll put some like in the middle if I feel like I've gotten too big of a gap, I'll come in and I'll be intentional about where I put my strip. And art glitter glue works a lot like Tombow Mono Multi, in that if you want to, if you put too much glue or it overlaps glue, it's fairly easy to pick it up. And you know what? I just want a little piece right here, and I've got this little itty bitty bit. So I will put that there. It does dry clear, but if there's any glue residual that you don't care for, it's pretty easy to pick up. And then I need a thin strip right here, so I'm going to go with a little bit longer one. So I'll just find a scrap that fits what I want. Or I'll try to find a scrap that fits what I want. Ooh, that's a good one. All right, and I'll put that in here. And that's a little bit tighter than I usually do as far as how close they are, but that's okay. That's one of the fun things about this, is they're all very, very different. And then I want a really thin one right here. Let's see, that looks pretty good. Okay, and then maybe just a little bit of something thin right here just to balance it out. And let's see. Oh, I like that one. And that's just, I pulled out a handful of scraps and threw them down. That's it. I want to vary the height on that a little bit, okay. All right, so that is my first background. And then what I do was, you know, like right here, you can see I didn't glue it all the way. I'll come in and just add a little bit of glue. That's another nice thing about the thin paper. Art glitter glue, you don't need very much of it at all to hold it in place. All right, so there's a background. And then I'm going to decide what I want to put on top. And here's just a couple of things that I have found. If you use a solid die cut, like say this butterfly, you lose a lot of your background effect because it's competing with all the colors in your die cut, and it's competing with the white edge. Now, of course, you can fussy cut and trim that out, but still, if I were wanting to use this technique with something real busy like this, I would choose all neutral or solid colors, you know, a variety of them, so that the patterns on my papers aren't competing with the pattern that I'm finding on this butterfly, this die cut. Same thing with this bird over here. Like, this is a great hummingbird. I think this is Shabby Dabby Doodah. But the bird kind of loses itself with the busyness of the paper in the background. So I'll generally tend to choose something more subdued if I were wanting to use die cuts like that. For this project, I like to use solid die cuts, or mostly solid die cuts. And I just cut a couple just to have to show you. Like, I could do something like this, and then maybe I'll take, I know I haven't planned this at all. That's too big. But I'll take one of my Tracy tags, or my Tracy labels, I should say. You know, I've just got a handful of them up here. I'll play with it until I find one that I think works nicely. Oh, well, there you go. If I were going to do that as a card, maybe I'd put yours faithfully as a salutation, or not a salutation, a closing. But I'll find a small, here we go, maybe a little one or something, and I'll put that on top. I'll ink it first and put it on top, kind of like I did here, like you can see with that. But then again, maybe I won't put anything. Maybe I'll just put a message, hello, or thinking of you, or what have you. But you can see, because of the paper that I chose for the background with words and letters and print and such on it, the solid die cuts work a little bit better with it. It allows you to see the benefit of those words. So maybe I would choose something like that. Or, and these aren't solid. They have a couple different colors, but they're fairly neutral and they're fairly thin. So you can still see the background underneath them without losing the pattern paper or your image. So you can still see the image of the flower. You can still see the pattern paper behind it. And you know, maybe I'll put like a little label or something right here like that. So that stands out just to give it a little bit more interest. And that's literally all there is to it. You don't have to use decorated dies, die cut pieces. You can use solid colored ones. Like here's, I just punched out a big butterfly and I could put that big solid butterfly on top if I wanted to. What else did I punch out? The leaves, the decorated leaves. Oh, here we go. Here's one. I haven't even inked it. This is just a plain solid leaf. And you can see how the background papers stand out with that. And, you know, again, maybe I'd do one of these labels while I'd ink it up and stuff. But something along, oh, maybe not that one. You know, something along these lines where I would put a label or something on it just to, you know, add another layer of dimension of interest. All right, that's all there is to it. That's scrap cards, and that's how I create scrap cards. Quick update, Etsy. So the ink boxes are about done. I've got them all cut based on what people said they were interested in and what they wanted to have. I've got them all cut. I've got the sides on. I've got the holes drilled. I just need to ink or stain them and finish the final sanding. Couple things. I decided I am not going to load the 2 for $20 envelopes this week simply because if people that have indicated they're interested in the boxes, am I even remotely in frame? Okay, good. People that indicated they're interested in boxes, I just don't want to lose or misplace anything. So I'm going to load the 2 for $5. I don't even know what I said before. It didn't sound right. Anyway, the 2 for $5 envelopes. I am not going to load them this Saturday, April 3rd. I am going to instead wait and load them Saturday, April 10th. Just like I said, I'm not an Etsy shop. I don't have an inventory place or all of that. So I don't have any dedicated space to making and storing things like I would if I were, you know, really an Etsy shop owner. So I'm just going to mail the ink boxes. The 1-hole size and the 2-hole size will ship in a priority mailbox, the small priority box, because they fit beautifully, and it'll be $8.45 shipping. The 3-hole size, I'm going today to see the variety of prices. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to overcharge. So I think I'll do like a flat $15. And then I'll charge you the actual cost. So if yours is $9 to ship, I'll refund you $6. I'll learn and figure out how to do that. So you'll be charged initially up front. I can refund you the difference. I'm not going to make you pay more than it actually costs to ship is what I'm trying to say there. And for people that are international, so I'm going to load these in my Etsy shop as 1, 2, and 3-hole boxes. And your shipping cost will be per box. So let's say you order 2 and you did 2 2-holes, for example. And so that would be $8.45 times 2. That would be almost $17. Well, if it doesn't cost me $17, I'll refund you the difference as well. Nobody will pay more than their actual shipping costs are. People that are in the UK, it'll be, or Australia or Canada, it'll be the same type of thing. I'll probably give you a flat fee for shipping and then I'll refund the difference. Those of you who had like a special request, like one sweet lady asked for a pencil holder, and I'll drill a hole so that, I've got to have a number 2 pencil here, so that her number 2 pencil can go in hers. And then a couple other people have asked for the 1.5-inch bore here so that they have those larger daubers, like the handmade ones on a Ramblin' Crafter, I think, that they make. So your hole will be a little bit bigger, and then you'll have 1 or 2 holes depending on what you wanted for your smaller things. Here's another change that I made. So there is an 1/2 inch here to get things in and out easily. Well, I found that I made the holes, I made this section a little smaller so I could make the holes a little bit farther apart, because I didn't want the holes too close because then it was ripping up the plywood. So it'll look slightly different. It's the same exact thing. It'll just look a little bit different when you receive it. I was going to say something else. Oh, those special orders. I will list it under your name. Like Lenny is the one who has a special request. And so for the specials that aren't the normal 1, 2, and 3-hole boxes, I will try to put this one for Lenny, and then what she said, and then like the one, I think it was Karen, that wanted the pencil hole for her number 2 pencil. I'll put this one's for Karen, kind of a thing. So if you're one of the people that had a special request, look for your name and your box will be there. If you have any other questions, send me a message on Etsy or send me an email and I'll do my best to answer them. All right, that's it for now. Happy Good Friday to you all, and I hope you have a wonderful, blessed Easter weekend. Happy creating.